what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking about those of you who are hearing about Cities of Learning for the first time. The Cities of Learning is part of a nationwide movement to leverage community and government resources to create new links between in-school and out-of-school learning throughout the summer and beyond. So recognizing that people are learning all over the place, and we want to make sure that they have the opportunity to be acknowledged for the learning wherever and whenever it happens. And I was just actually reading one of my emails about fantastic work that's taking place in Kentucky, unrelated to the Cities of Learning, but fantastic connection between in-school and out-of-school learning. But the focus of the program is to engage cities to open doors across neighborhoods and to ensure that all youth have access to creative and academic opportunities in a whole variety of places, including libraries, museums, parks, and other community institutions, as well as access to existing learning experiences online. So recognizing that not always, kids can't always they don't always have the opportunity to connect directly with person-to-person experiences, providing them the same experiences or similar online. And the Cities of Learning use digital badges. So you may hear us say digital badges and also open badges. Digital badges are a sophisticated new tool that documents and captures learning wherever it's acquired. So the whole point of badges is to start grabbing all of the learning and recognizing it in a little bit of a formalized way. Chicago was really the first city who launched the Cities of Learning movement in 2013. So the Cities of Learning, Chicago was the first City of Learning in 2013, and they had a really successful summer program that networked more than 100 organizations and served more than 100,000 students. So really successful from that perspective, galvanized a lot of the activity that was already happening, and started to introduce different aspects for people to connect and learn in lots of different ways. Sorry, I'm just catching up on the slides. And then the Chicago City of Learning now continues year-round. So it's gone from the Summer of Learning, so last year was the Chicago Summer of Learning, to the Cities of Learning. And this year, we have a variety of new cities who are working through this, and those include Columbus, Dallas, Los Angeles, Pittsburgh, and Washington, D.C. And additional cities will be joining in 2015, so we're really excited about that. And today we're going to be taking, I do want to also mention that the Cities of Learning effort is receiving funding and support from MacArthur Foundation, the Badge Alliance, and DePaul University. So many thanks to all of those who are not members of the Badge Alliance. And then today we're going to be talking with different folks involved in the National Cities of Learning Initiative and within the 3 of the current cities. And here we're going to be talking to Nicole Pinkard. And let me just cue up her slide. And a little bit about Nicole, if you can introduce yourself, touch on where and how your work with Cities of Learning started, and then just talk a little bit about how you knew we were onto something, and touch on the importance of connected learning. And then just talking about the value of using badges to capture that learning.
Hi everyone. Nicole Pinkard here. I am, what is the role? I wear so many different hats, but I am an associate professor at DePaul University and also founder of the Digital Youth Network, which is a initiative to develop youth digital literacy, both the programming and the technology necessary to support that. That's also out of Chicago and out of DePaul University. And in that capacity, being an organization in Chicago, we have often been called by MacArthur to support some of their initiatives with respect to digital media and learning. We were actually the first grant that MacArthur made with regards to digital media and learning for intervention-based work, so work directly with youth. And so how we got involved in the Cities of Learning is last year, Mozilla, MacArthur, and the mayor's office had already started down the path to implement Chicago's City of Learning, and we were called as a local organization to partner with Mozilla and the city and MacArthur to work directly with the organization. So we had a lot of fun last year, a lot of lessons learned, a lot of experiences around making the City of Learning a worthwhile event. And it is important to say something about the fact that the City of Learning was an initiative that came out of the mayor's office in Chicago. So normally when and most of the initiatives that we've worked in has been something that, as researchers or foundations, we think up and say, now let's go find the audience for it. I think what's really interesting about the Cities of Learning and why it has caught on at the level in which it has is that it really came out of a need of the mayor's office. And, every city has the summer, and every city, doesn't want the summer brain drain. And the mayor's office, the mayor and Beth Swanson, who was his director of education, were like, well, how can we know what kids are doing, and how can we have some way of understanding what our offerings are? So they called MacArthur and said, hey, we know you're doing something with open badges, digital badges. Is there anything we can do here? So in a very short order of time, the Chicago City of Learning Initiative was formed, and initially it was to just make sure that we had some way of accounting for the learning experiences that kids were participating in, and had some way, hopefully, of being able to communicate back to the schools and back to the parents about what the learning opportunities that happen. We, myself, as a academic and a researcher, actually, I wouldn't. Sybil's going to go much more into the Chicago City of Learning. I'm just going to say what we found pretty interesting and unique about the opportunities to engage in this initiative was the realization that with the use of digital badges, you would actually have a way of making visible what the learning opportunities are in the city. And before this opportunity in Chicago, there was no one place where you could see, here's all the experiences or opportunities that kids can get involved in. So that was our purpose for investing in it here, and Sybil's going to talk much more about the details of Chicago City of Learning. But I would say, because I think it originated out of the mayor's office, as other cities, LA and other places, heard about what was going on in Chicago, other cities, sort of reached out and said, hey, what is the City of Learning, and can we implement something like this in our community? So we had 4 or 5 cities who jumped in and said, we want to do our own. We don't want to do a cookie cutter of Chicago, but we want to understand our own communities, and we want to work together collaboratively to create something called Cities of Learning. And I think we've been on a journey for the last 6-7 months with LA, Dallas, Pittsburgh, who all have implemented their own unique implementations of Cities of Learning. So what I would say, one of the other things that came out of the work is we decided in Chicago it didn't make sense to just do a summer of learning, which is normally what the program was really designed around initially. But we wanted to make sure that we can carry these learning opportunities and make them available to cities across, to students across the entire year. And so we implemented Chicago's City of Learning, which means we've had programming that's available throughout the whole year, but we definitely focus on the break times, so winter break, spring break, and summer break. So it's really been, this is only year 2, and we have a lot of lessons learned, a lot of ways in which we need to get better. But I would say one of the more interesting things, and I'm sure Sybil's going to talk about this, is that just by what the badges have done are 2 things for us. First, they've created a common language across the organizations, and I think not even just at the city level, but I even think across the cities. And they've made visible areas of potential programming that need to be put in place in the city, because it's very visible now where programming exists, where it is and where it's not. So I am going to actually be quiet right now because Sybil is going to give a much more detailed explanation of Chicago City of Learning.
So I'm Sybil Madison-Boyd. I'm part of the Digital Youth Network team here at DePaul University in Chicago. And when I'm not working on Chicago City of Learning or Cities of Learning, I am working on learning pathways and thinking about how to conceptualize them and build them both with community-based organizations and with teachers and schools so that we can create sets of experiences that are linked and result in access to special opportunities, credit and formal settings, etc. So Chicago City of Learning, a couple of things have already been mentioned. I will briefly repeat them, but this initiative came out of the mayor's office here in Chicago with the initial focus on summer as a time to really organize all of our resources in the city to ensure that young people were engaged in robust learning when they were out of school. And that narrative was organized around the summer slide and summer learning loss and the need to really make sure that our young people continue to be connected and engaged. After 2013, and there's some stats there about our reach and the number of organizations involved in that initial effort, we really wanted to expand the initiative, and we did a bit of a renaming of it and called it Chicago City of Learning because, as Carla mentioned before, we thought it was really important to recognize that young people are able to engage in these informal learning opportunities throughout the school year and not just during summer. So in this expanded effort, we've really tried to shift the narrative a bit to include the need to keep kids engaged in learning both inside and outside of school, but to connect it to the broader framework of connected learning, which is a framework that's lodged in research that's been around forever about what makes for powerful learning experiences, keeping in mind that today's world youth are connected in ways that they've never been connected before. So this time around, we really organized our learning organizations around this concept of the need to connect the learning that young people are engaged in, that takes place in school, that takes place with their peers, and that takes place a lot of times in really hugely powerful and self-directed ways around interest. And so that's what this Chicago City of Learning has been about. Our goals here in Chicago, when I tell folks about what we're trying to do, I talk about three things. One is to make more visible all of the informal learning opportunities that are available to young people here in the city. We think it's really important that young people and the adults who care about them, their parents, their teachers, their mentors, know where they can find opportunities for youth to be engaged in interest-based learning. And the statistic that I've been sharing a lot lately is some recent research that showed that upper-income families spend about $11,000 per child on extracurricular activities. So we know that the learning that takes place outside of formal settings is really important for young people in their development of understanding what they're interested in, what they're really good at and talented at, but also in preparing them for college and career. So we think it's really important that we create a vehicle through which young people and adults that care about them can find these opportunities, and especially find opportunities that really are accessible because they're free or low cost. So that has been our first goal, and our website, which is on the slide, has become that portal or that place that houses that information and begins to make those learning opportunities visible. Our second goal has been to connect those opportunities. So we really think it's important that we begin to link these opportunities, again, along the lines of interest, so that young people begin to understand how their interests are connected to the next thing. We have so many examples of kids who get into a program and they get really jazzed about it, say it's photography, but they don't know what to do next or where to take that. And oftentimes they also don't understand how it might be connected to other things that they could be interested in. So if I'm interested in photography, I might have a broader interest in the visual arts. But if I've never heard of the visual arts, I wouldn't know that, right? So, so as we begin to make these opportunities more visible, we also want to connect them. And as we connect them, we want to connect these opportunities to each other, but also connect them to special opportunities and new opportunities like internships, jobs, other kind of classes and workshops, et cetera, that really can help to increase young people's access to mentors, that help them build strong social networks around their interests, that also provide them with the capital that we know young people need to achieve in school and to access opportunities like jobs and to present themselves well when they're applying to college. So the first thing is to make these opportunities visible, second, to connect them, and third, to recognize what young people achieve through these opportunities and experiences with digital badges. And those badges then become a tool for connected learning that help us kind of light these pathways that we're trying to design, because they represent what these programs are offering. For young people, they begin to represent the identity that they're building and forming, and then they also create a language that then can be shared across spaces, informal spaces and formal spaces, that begin to communicate what young people have learned, know how to do, are interested in. So those are the three goals that we've had with Chicago's City of Learning. And we've been really excited. As it says in the slide, we've had over 100 organizations join this effort and work under this banner. And there's been a lot of energy around that here in Chicago. What's been awesome is that, first of all, our organizations completely connect to these goals. Badges might be new to them, but they completely connect to the need to make the opportunities that they provide more visible and to begin to connect these opportunities. It's been really exciting that organizations have been responding in a way that communicates these are all of our kids, and we really want them to maximize the resources that the city provides through our organizations, agencies, et cetera. So that's been really exciting. It's also been exciting to see that we're making these connections digitally by using the badges, but that organizations are also tangibly making these connections. So we've been able to see some new kind of collaborations emerge from just this process of bringing all of these organizations together. Lots of folks who never knew that there was a program like this in their neck of the woods, et cetera. What we're working on as we move forward is, it is a year-round initiative now. So it was much tidier when it was just the summer, and we could say, oh, the summer has just ended. So now we're gearing up to think about, what does it mean to keep this going year-round? A big win for us this year is that we have a strong partnership with Chicago Public Schools. So essentially all the young people who are Chicago Public School students already have an account, and we're able to make them aware of that, and then they can create this account on the site and collect their badges there. So that has a lot of implications for then how you transition from summer to fall. So right now we're gearing up to think about the best way to do that and to make more young people and parents and teachers aware of the initiative. And then the last thing I'll say that we are working on is an ongoing process, and why we're so excited to be doing this work with other cities is just developing the practices that are needed to make this kind of part of the fabric of the learning that takes place outside of school, and the fabric or practices that are really new for organizations, for mentors, instructors, and for youth around understanding and maximizing the value of badges. So I think we've done a terrific job in creating a shared language around badges and presenting a framework that's being used across cities, and in helping organizations design these badges. We have more work to do in really helping young people and other adults understand the badges and what they have to offer, and more work in helping people integrate badging into the actual practices involved in teaching and learning that take place in the day-to-day as kids experience these programs.
That's great. Thank you so much, Sybil. And there are actually a number of questions. Actually, I wonder if we can just jump in right now, and I want to ask a question that was particularly addressed around the Chicago Summer of Learning and the City of Learning. Then the question is from Leah McPhee, and she's asking, I believe that City of Learning is primarily a K-12 endeavor, and I'm wondering if there's been any interest in expanding this movement and to include and address professional development in college level, since there are colleges already involved.
Yes, for sure. In Chicago, we publicly state that the initiative is for 4 through 24. So we start before kindergarten and we go into young adulthood. And we're still working on what that looks like for really young kids. and also what that looks like for young adults who, especially who might not be in college and who are just entering into the workforce. So we have a couple of things that we're working on through our One Summer Jobs program here in Chicago, which serves kind of that older range of youth. And then we also, Digital Youth Network, has been doing some work with adults inside DePaul University through our School for New Learning. So, so the initiative itself is really a 4 to 24 initiative, and we've got some work to do on both ends of that spectrum. But yes, there are lots of places that are also integrating badges into professional development opportunities, into their training that takes place, you know, if they're a corporation, the kind of workplace training. And we are working with some of our colleagues here at DePaul University to see what it looks like to integrate badging into the actual learning experience through coursework.
Great, thanks, Sybil. And I know that we have a few more questions in the chat, and particularly about the assurance of representing rigor and mastery. And we're going to hold that one until the end so that we can let everybody respond to it. And now I'd like to turn the conversation over to Erin, who's going to talk to us a little bit about the Dallas City of Learning.
This is Erin Offord. I'm here at Big Thought in Dallas. I'm the Community Relations Director and have been working with a great team here in Dallas, getting everything set up, and we're very excited on what's been happening so far. So I'll kind of walk you through where we are and some of our key learnings. We are really learning a lot from Chicago as well, being that they kind of are the veterans around the block, and so we're taking heed to some of the direction that they've been providing, and even listening here today to think about how do we grow and work beyond the summer for this initiative, because we've definitely been having some exciting conversations. As I've mentioned, the program's launched this summer, and we are also working with 5 to 18-year-olds. That's our age group around the program. And the purpose is to really give the kids more ways to explore the city. We really are looking at the city of Dallas as the backdrop for a lot of learning that can take place. One of the key areas that we have been focusing on is equal access and accessibility. For those who may not have visited Dallas, we are a very vast city. From north, south, east, and west, it's pretty a large scope. And even before this initiative, we often have to address accessibility because we know there are many families that are spread out throughout the city, being that it's such a large city, and it's not necessarily the most pedestrian-friendly city. So we're really looking at ways that when we say access, we really do need it. Big Thought itself is a public-private partnership. We have celebrated our 25th anniversary and traditionally have provided creative learning experiences through partnerships with the City of Dallas as well as the Dallas Independent School District. The luxury we had is we've had a 15-year partnership with many of our partners in the school district called Arts Partners, where we were able to work with partners, get program design, and we have a database that holds all of this information. And that partnership allowed us, I think, the ability to talk to partners about digital learning and the connected learning ideas in a much more flexible way than if we were starting a partnership from scratch. And that's something that I think we've been very pleased with, the results and the feedback we've been getting from our partners in this digital learning conversation. We also have the online programs as well as many of the types of program designs and programs that partners were already doing in our Connected Learning website. And I think right now we're looking at about maybe 50, a little more than 50+ partners who have joined in with us and participated in the learning this summer. We participated in a training when we did our launch back in May. We were able to start at a training with most of our partners where they were able to learn about issuing badges. And that's where we started discovering the interest from our partners were really the child-centered approach that the digital badge conversation lends. And that's something that we've definitely taken into different realms of the partners, whether it's art, science, sports, It really allows the provider and the program designer to think of what is the interest of the child. And not that we don't all think that is important, of course we do, but sometimes you do get distracted by what's the funder's interest, what's the parent's interest, what's my organization's interest. And then having my colleague Evan Cleveland, who led the training, really drill down on the child's interest, we think really pivoted the conversations for many of our partners to really come up with innovative program designs. So that's something that we've definitely taken away. We also have been having conversations primarily before this about out-of-school time. And so out-of-school time, as well as this digital connection, has really been interesting because you can really go further and deeper in many of the programs that the partners have created. And I'll share a few with you a little bit. But I wanted to just walk through some of the key areas we've been learning about ourselves, about our partners, and about the kids. We definitely see an increased capacity in the knowledge that our partners have around digital learning, the digital badging. It's something people heard about. We have a great museum, the Dallas Museum of Art, that actually had already invested in digital badging for their adult members. But not many partners saw themselves as an institution that can really take on this digital badging, and yet once they participated in the training, they were very excited. The equal accessibility I already talked about, but that is a priority of this initiative, is that we work with as many partners that we can, and we meet them where they are. And this is around working with folks at their groundwork, not reinventing the wheel. So our first conversation was often around, what are your plans already this summer, and how can digital learning work with that and affect that and impact that, as opposed to let's start with creating this new program that'll connect stronger to digital badging. It was really on what are your plans this summer? And we really were strategic in some of the partners that we knew would have infrastructure and the support to work with us. And some of those have really been doing great work. And then in that, we had other partners who were very interested to be part of that conversation. And so we were very pleased with the neighborhood partners and churches and other groups besides just the institutions, which really helped move the accessibility needle we were trying to move. As well as the deeper child experience. Again, I mentioned that's really been some of the takeaways, is the program designs and the level at which the partners are thinking through the types of programs they want to offer for children. One of the events that we did create, and maybe different from others, is around this accessibility, is turn-up events, and it's meant to be geared for the older kid, maybe the more disengaged child who might just be hanging out. And we would have 5 community-wide events throughout our city. And again, this is also trying to meet folks where they live, knowing that not many people can come to the institution in the downtown heart of Dallas. We wanted neighborhood events tucked away throughout different parts of the community. So we literally had, we're doing our last one this coming August 9th, but we've had 4 so far, that each child who participated received great workshops, mainly around creative learning, and then they were able to actually earn a badge at these events. We partnered with the Game Fame bus, which is a local tech bus that has computer stations on the bus. And he's plugged up and parked in the parking lot and used as a way to have instant, immediate badge earning from those children who participated in the actual community event. And we've had really great success. We've hosted a few. One was on the bridge that is being opened in the city of Dallas, and we were able to have art stations on top of the bridge. And it was all around environmental and eco-friendly activities, as we were working with the Trinity River, which is a local environmental group with the city. So many of our events were around the environment-friendly way of doing art, but then also have take-home activities and educational stations for the children and their families. We were able to also partner with the Love Field Airport here in the city that on their own, with our collaboration, developed a great aviation engineer technology activity stations for families that were able to get an inside peek of the workings of an airport. And all of their departments came to the table to provide activities, and we were able to get a tour of the artwork in the airport, as well as they fed and were able to support our families throughout the day with food and drink and beverage. And so those were one of those experiences where they earned an aviation badge. as well. And we were also able to highlight a city partner who have really been very supportive and wanted to jump in and work with us. And we also had a spoken word, My Voice badge. And lastly, we're coming up to our last community-wide event, turn-up event, this August 9th. And it'll be a celebration of diversity. It's in one of our most diverse neighborhoods in the city of Dallas, and so we want to represent culture. And we have different residencies and programs that are happening at the city, and we're inviting partners to come in and showcase and highlight, and kids will be able to earn a community badge at this particular event. And so we've seen real success on having these visual open displays of learning and really using the city of Dallas as the backdrop of learning. And that was one of the goals that was very important for us too as we embarked on this digital learning initiative, is to really connect the digital to the actual experience, and having kids firsthand click the button and earn that badge instantly as they had the experience in the community has been really something that we think we can build on for sure. The other part I was just going to mention as well is the wrapping up and next steps that we're interested in. Not that we're going to have a year-round badging initiative. We will take that break at the end of our summer. We'll debrief with our partners, and we'll learn a lot more on what's working and what didn't work. But this turn-up crew, we've invested in around 12 young people who were part of a program component of a jazz orchestra that learned and earned a music badge. But we had such success with these young kids that we encouraged them to volunteer and to spread the word about the City of Learning with us. And in that, we really were able to invest in them helping spread the word. And that's really been working because they've been able to articulate the website, they've mastered where to go, they've pushed and been able to understand the online challenges and how to communicate to the kids at these events. And so we feel like we have young ambassadors who have mastered and at least take ownership of this Dallas City of Learning with us. And so when we do think beyond summer, we think that keeping these young folks together and really helping us build and have relevant meaning to kids in our community is important. And so that kind of just fell in our lap, but it's been definitely something that we've been building on and want to continue to build on. I think that kind of wraps up what I was going to discuss. I just have to acknowledge my colleague Evan, who has really been key in helping our partners understand the way that their existing programs connect to the digital badging and the learning experiences. We, I think, just in general, have a lot more of our community and showcase badging be a priority for partners. But we've been pleased with the feedback from other partners who really wanted to have more deeper learning experiences. And knowing that takes more time and more capacity for them, we have been working with those who really wanted to have deeper badge experiences for their youth. So at the end of this summer, this type of conversation, this type of way that we've developed partners to think about the learning experience is something we definitely want to keep and embed in how we discuss the work that we do with the children and families that we're trying to serve.
Great, thank you so much, Erin. That was really wonderful. And there are a few questions again that have been asked that we will be addressing at the end of after everybody presents. But right now, I'd like to turn it over to Luis and the Los Angeles City of Learning. Summer of Learning.
Good morning, everyone from Los Angeles. I know it's afternoon in some other places, and I'm really glad to be able to join these wonderful cities already developing such interesting programs around summer of learning and digital badges. First, an introduction. My name is Luis Mora. I'm an administrative coordinator for the Beyond the Bell branch in Los Angeles Unified School District. And so for those of you that may not know, Los Angeles is the second largest district in the nation. We cover over 400 square miles, and we serve over 600,000 students. And Beyond the Bell branch, which is the branch that is in charge of after school, before school, and summer programs, is the largest provider of this type of programs in the country. We like to say in the world, but we don't have the data to support it. We serve approximately, let's say, close to 100,000 students throughout the school year, whether it is, again, through before school programs, after school programs, or summer programs. And the moment that we heard and we were invited by Nicole and the DePaul team to participate in the program, we were so excited and consider ourselves so lucky to have had the opportunity to get involved in this program, because it really fits in what Los Angeles and Beyond the Belt specifically does. We are looking at Los Angeles, like the other two cities that just preceded me, as a campus with multiple organizations being involved, CBOs, libraries, museums, the mayor's office, and our own LAUSD departments that have been key in developing a solid program this last summer. One of our main themes that maybe sets us apart from the other cities is our focus on workforce development. Sometime in March, and again with the help of CIVIL, we started involving a number of organizations, from the Mayor's Office Workforce Development Department to the Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce, to our own LAUSD departments such as Perkins or Linked Learning or Workforce Experience. And we came together to try to develop a common curriculum and common rubrics around 5 workforce development badges, from job entry level skills to job applications, resume writing, financial literacy, interview skills, etc. The idea was that no matter what organization the student received these badges from, we would have a common understanding on what our curriculum should be and what type of skills we were expecting students to have by the end of the program. And with that in mind, then we developed not only these 5 badges, but we also developed what we call the Mayor's Workforce Ready Badge. Any student who completed the 5 badges would be able to earn the Mayor's Badge, but then also unlock summer job opportunities through the Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce certificate, Workforce Ready certificate. And so that has been probably one of our main focus. Considering the fact that our mission and our vision was also to serve those students that are most at risk in many of the communities that may not have the access to the technology or the internet that we want to provide through this program, we also open a number of hubs or drop-in centers, 8 of them throughout the city, so that they will remain open in the afternoon after the summer program and after the after-school programs. The idea was that students who didn't have access to the technology or who needed some type of support would be able to attend those hubs and either earn any of the badges that were offered through the Los Angeles Summer of Learning or participate in any of the workforce readiness curriculum. We also had some CBOs that took advantage of these hubs being open to offer programs. And so what we saw is some synergy going on in some of these centers where we had students coming for different purposes, multiple purposes in more than one case. So very exciting program that we were able to put together this summer around these hubs. Like all the other cities, again, is maybe what sets us also a little bit apart is the district involvement in this program. What we are trying to do is make sure that we track student participation, and that when students sign up through the Los Angeles Summer of Learning, we're able to identify their student records and for evaluation purposes or research purposes, see how effective the program is and how can we bring back this information to the school at the teacher or administrator level. One of the things that we're working on is how do we collect all that information that students are or all these badges that students are earning, and in a seamless way be able to provide teachers at the classroom level with the interest or the areas that students are working on when they are not in the classroom. And so we've been working very closely with DYN and our LAUSD Information Technology Division to develop a system, the protocols, the procedures that are necessary in order to be able to bring back all that information to our teachers' classrooms. But not only from the point of view of technology, we are also very interested in making that connection with the Los Angeles Summer of Learning or the future Los Angeles City of Learning by also providing our classroom teachers with a way for them to be able to issue badges to students. Let me give you just a specific example. We have many teachers, for example, who are organizing field trips throughout the year. And we have our museums that are now partnering with us, offering Los Angeles Summer of Learning. So one of the things that we want to do this year is provide students the opportunity to earn badges when they are attending any of the museums or locations that are part of their field trips. And then making that connection between what is going on in the classroom, whatever the lesson the teacher is focusing on when organizing that field trip, and the museum being able to also provide that type of badge. So very excited again about the amount of opportunities that the collaboration with the different cities, DePaul, DYN, and the whole Cities of Learning organization allows us to expand the many opportunities that we are already on a day-to-day trying to provide our students with. That's basically what we are looking for in the future. How can we expand the number of organizations that are going to be involved as we evolve into a City of Learning organization, and how do we keep developing learning opportunities for our students to be able to take advantage of them?
Great, thank you, Luis. So that was a terrific overview. We heard from Chicago and Dallas and Los Angeles. Many thanks. And also Nicole, who kind of set up the whole how we got into badges to begin with. Many thanks to all of you. And then there were a few questions that came up during each one of the presentations. And one came from E.H. Vickery. How did you ensure that the digital badges represented rigor or mastery so that badges have value? And I'm wondering if each one of you, perhaps Luis, since you were just talking, if you want to talk a little bit about how you went about building those 5 badges that you mentioned, and then we can go to Aaron and then Sybil.
All right. So as I mentioned briefly before, it took us some work and a lot of meetings to get all these organizations to come up with a common curriculum. And so if you visit our website, you will see a specific web page that is exclusively dedicated to the Workforce Development Badge. And so the idea is that we have developed a common badge, but each organization will be represented in the badge itself. So if the overseeing organization is the city and the mayor's office and the Los Angeles Unified School District, if an specific organization such as Linked Learning or our Perkins program issues the badge to the students, and they'd be able to brand that badge with the idea that if an employer, for example, sees that badge, they will know that the skills that are expected are the same, but the specific organization that is issuing that badge is that one that is shown in the banner of the badge. And the idea is to share all those badges with our students, and then for them to be able to just share with the employers.
This is Erin. I was just going to also note, I didn't mention it earlier, that this summer we did not have a strategic partnership with our independent school district. We have an existing summer learning loss initiative with Dallas ISD, so we are strategically working through a lot of our community partners, neighborhood groups, and the city of Dallas. It also took a lot of work and is a lot of work. I think that's the main realization is our capacity to have ongoing conversations with our partners at the partner level to ensure that the merit and the value of the badge is being considered. The idea was that we walked through the 4 levels of badges, and through those conversations we were able to create a template and probing questions to merit what those experiences look like. And I will say we have issued more community level badges, showcase badges, community level being habits of mind badges that really addressed the habits of mind that a partner was considering and wanted kids to learn in a communal way, so that the community experiences was being valued as well as the sharing of certain content. Knowledge and skills badges were considered by a few of our other partners as well. where they have a deeper technology type of program track that they were offering, where some of the kids were actually going to have documentarian experience. They were going to do film editing, for example, and they were going to display what they learned in a more detailed way. As far as supporting a district-wide curriculum, we just were not there yet with our round this summer. So it really has been one of our lead instructors who has been having many different trainings and conversations with our partners to ensure that the level of badging was matching the merit of those categories. Out of that, we realized that a lot of our partners were tackling the showcase and the community level badges, and yet skill and knowledge was being learned. We also felt that it may not have been enough to issue that level badge, and so our instructor really had taken the lead and walking through some of those types of questions, such as what is the exact skill and knowledge that the child would learn. And once you start drilling down deeper is when we realized that many partners were actually offering probably a habits of mind badge versus a knowledge and skill. And so those were some of our level conversations that we were having. We're very interested and excited to see how does it work when we're working at a school-wide level within our partner at the district. But this round, it was very much informal conversations, even visits at a partner level, walking through their program components, the objectives, the ways that they measure it, and how each of those 4 badges fits that criteria.
Great, thank you, Erin. And just a little bit of a heads up, we have about 6 minutes left on the call, and I want to make sure that Sybil has a chance to respond, and then if we can just squeeze in maybe one more question.
Yeah, so as Erin mentioned, one of the things that's been exciting across the cities is that we're all using the same badge framework, and there are 4 types of badges that we're helping organizations understand and use in their badge design, and it just warms my heart that Erin defined what a community badge is. So it's so exciting that we're developing this shared language across the cities. And so there's a community badge, which Erin explained, knowledge and skill badges, which are more about the achievement of discrete skill sets or knowledge sets, and then the showcase badge, which is acknowledging kind of a level of sharing your knowledge and skills to an external audience. So I think that one of the ways that we're working on this is by developing that shared language and putting into place these practices that Erin is talking about, where we support those who are developing badges and understanding the framework and applying it to the learning experiences that they're providing. And then there's been a review process at some level, I think, in each of these cities where we have that conversation about whether it seems like this is actually a skill badge, a knowledge badge, a community badge, or a showcase badge, and I think that that's the first step. As Louise mentioned, I think the next step is having folks come together and actually develop badges together, so across organizations or institutions, so that so that we're establishing a set of criteria that's being used across organizations and coming up with standard criteria in those situations and a standard assessment, which they have in LA, is really important. And then finally, I'll just say we've done a little bit of work with Chicago Public Schools to have the school district actually look at the badges and then look at the criteria that are required for earning the badges and determine if they would endorse that badge. So we have a pilot where in Chicago we have, for our high school students, they have to earn service learning credit, and with Chicago Public Schools have identified some badges that, based on their criteria, meet the objectives that the school system's trying to meet. And in that case, CPS doesn't develop the badge, but they endorse the badge and say, if you have earned this badge, then we consider it a valid representation of the learning that we're trying to have our young people demonstrate.
Thanks, Sybil. Yeah, absolutely. And there have been a few other questions that I believe have been answered. One was directed towards Luis, which was, will workforce badges, are they available for national use? And Luis responded that definitely interested in being able to share this content directly related to what Sybil was just talking about is starting to think about what co-issuing how that might work across cities, and then also endorsement. And the Badge Alliance is focused very much, we actually have a working group that Deb Eberhardt is part of and leads about thinking about endorsement and what that would be like to have organizations acknowledge each other's badges and badge systems. So that is something we're really excited about. Sorry, go ahead.
Can I say something with that, Carla? I think conceptually we all want to make sure that our badges are, that we can have badges that are awarded across, and this is more a part of it. I think it's less about the conceptual hurdle, but more of a technical hurdle in terms of how do we, particularly with cities, ensure that they have badge systems that are in some sense confined to the city, but at the same time kids can reach across. So I think a lot of the conversations in the upcoming year is going to be around the how do we create the technical infrastructures to support the goals and objectives that orgs have to reach across the boundaries of cities, while still making sure that there are some important boundaries that are kept for for data protection purposes.
Thanks for sharing that, Nicole. Absolutely, we are interested in that. And that was also one of the other questions. We only have about a minute left, so I'm just going to wrap up. There was another question, is there a movement for the badge to be portable over a lifetime? And absolutely, that is one of the primary goals of open badges, is that all content stays with you and that it is lifelong learning and that it's stackable, so that you can take content and stack it on top of, take learning and stack it on top of other learning. And first of all, I just want to take a moment to thank all of our speakers, Nicole, Sybil, Aaron, and Luis. Thank you so much for sharing all of your experience. It's been really wonderful. It's been very informative. People have been very excited on the chat. Thanks everybody so much, and we look forward to connecting with you again in September.